AccuDraw is a productivity feature of a computer-aided design program. It is part of the program Microstation, which is competitor to Autocad. And I invented and developed AccuDraw along with many other features of Microstation, but AccuDraw got a lot of, was very notable and is still used and very popular. I'm going to give a little demo of it. I want to first just show a few things on the web. You can see that there's a lot of glowing reviews of it. A lot of people still talking about it 20 some years later. AccuDraw, it's like a T-square and triangle that works in 3D space. It also works in 2D quite effectively, but it's especially powerful in 3D. And you can see people here, they're talking about Rhino, another 3D program that's much more modern than Microstation. And people talking about, they talk about, I seriously miss AccuDraw. Is there something like that we can have in here? Here's someone saying, as a method for accurate input of geometry, it beats anything else I've seen. It is a completely different league to anything AutoCAD has. AutoCAD being the big competition. And here's another one where they're talking about it's 2016 and AutoCAD still can't do this thing, and someone's pointing out, well, in Microstation you could use AccuDraw, and someone else comes along with Microstation AccuDraw is the best drawing aid I've ever seen. Here's another one where just people are giving glowing comments about AccuDraw. Someone says, I don't know who came up with the idea of AccuDraw, but they're an absolute genius in my mind. It's nice to hear. And here they point out that it was invented by yours truly. Here's another one, Microstation versus AutoCAD. And here you see someone saying AccuDraw is the most powerful tool in CAD history. Nice to see that. And they go on, the true power of Microstation lies with AccuDraw and its 3D capabilities, since AccuDraw will let you draw in 3D on the fly and without having to set up alternate coordinate systems, type in coordinates, etc. And finally, here's just one more. Someone asking about why can't we have something like this in AutoCAD? And here's some of the things people say about it. AccuDraw removes all doubt about what commands to use and works in all situations. You just lock your axis, snap to elements. I've been using AutoCAD for about a year and haven't been able to find a command or anything like it that allows you to draw and align objects as quickly and effortlessly as AccuDraw. So let's get to a demo of the actual thing. So here I'm in the product, and keep in mind this is a 90s vintage product, but as I'm drawing, you'll notice the AccuDraw little compass shows up there, and I can manipulate it both by moving the mouse around and by typing things in. You'll see what I'm typing there. I've got them shown in big letters there, and you wouldn't normally see them that big when you're drawing, but just to show you, here I hit the enter key and it locks onto an axis, for instance. There I can snap to something else. Now I can hit O to move the origin, that's moving the compass. I can flip to the top plane, hit the enter key, lock onto an axis, snap to another point. You can see how it projects. You can see that the compass has automatically rotated into a useful position, but I can always rotate it back to the top, front, side, etc. And this is just really handy for being able to move about with precision. When I click on something to modify it, the compass knows the best place to go. Here it just jumps onto the line and orients itself. So I can say I want to lock into the axis maybe, type 1 to move it 1 inch or whatever unit we're working in. Let me change the color here and draw something else. I'm going to draw another line starting at this point. I'm in the top plane. And I'll lock the axis by hitting enter, snap to another point to determine the length. I'm using a command called SmartLine here. That's the drawing tool itself, and that one you can change the rounding radius of the corners. You can go into arc mode. You can do various things. It works really well with AccuDraw. I wrote the SmartLine tool too, and they're both very, very popular tools in Microstation. Now here I'm on the front plane, and I've typed in 2.5, and it goes in the direction of the cursor. You're always moving the mouse cursor in the general direction you want to move, and then just typing. Again, you'll never see me click on that AccuDraw dialog box because I don't really need to. Here you notice the compass rotated itself. I'll finish that line up. Here I'm rotating the view. This was pretty clever at the time. Again, early 90s or mid 90s when graphics cards weren't as fast as they are today. So my little cube, the from cube and the to cube was very handy and popular. It would show you what your view was going to look like, even to manipulating the perspective of the view. That was pretty cool back then. Here I'm going to, so let's say I'm in circle mode. You notice that AccuDraw will be it's a circle now because it's jumped to polar coordinates. You notice distance and angle. Because it's drawing a circle, that it thinks that's most useful. You can always switch it back just by hitting the space bar. Here I'm going to do what's called rotate alternate coordinate system. Give a few points to give it a rotation, and it's just a temporary thing, and it's very quick, just to rotate it into a different orientation, and then I can move within that. Here with precision, I'm typing in some numbers, I'm moving around. I never even drew anything. I'm just trying to decide where my point's going to be, and AccuDraw also uses its orientation to determine, for instance, when you're drawing a circle, the orientation of AccuDraw is important. Here I'm doing mathematical calculations. You see a little calculator has popped up because I typed, for instance, divided. I can do divide by, I can snap to something and divide that coordinate. You can do all kinds of fancy stuff here, but here I'm just determining the radius of the circle just by typing it in. It always seems to know what I'm doing, which, what is appropriate. Here I've flipped the plane. I want to copy that circle out in 3 dimensions, and I can do, here I'll rotate our view a little bit here, and I can do a 3D command such as to project that into a tube. That works very nicely. Again, it's just really easy to do it both intuitively, interactively. It flows really well, but you're also doing it with precision, at least where you want precision. You can just type the numbers in. You can kind of preview the numbers by looking at them. You can and it flows very, very quickly. No other tool works like this. Here I'm again rotating my auxiliary coordinate system just so I can work on a different plane. And here I'm moving about in that coordinate system just by typing numbers, either typing numbers or snapping to important pieces of geometry. And I'll just keep going with this a little bit. Obviously, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but I'm just going to draw a few more things in case you're interested in seeing just some of the further capabilities of AccuDraw to get the feel of it. Here I've gone to the top plane, front plane, side plane, just by typing TFS. Typed in 1.5. Click that point in. Let's switch to sharp corners, and we'll type a number. Now I'm going into arc mode, which I can just do a very quick command to do that, and I just swing it the direction I want that arc to go. Again, this is a command that I wrote, which at the time was pretty cool that it was that powerful to be able to just do lines, arcs, rounded corners, etc. without having to go into a whole bunch of separate commands and then combine everything together. Back then it was really, really cool to be able to do things that way. And it probably still is pretty cool to do that thing. I do things that way. I haven't been in the field for a while, but people still love both of these tools, AccuDraw and SmartLine. So here I'm drawing little rounded corner lines at 90 degrees. You notice I'm in polar coordinates now. That's a circular thing there. I'm going to give it a different rounding radius and 0.25 rounding radius. And let's see what I want to do. You notice it's constrained the distance. It's not constrained the x or the y because, again, I'm in polar coordinates. I can do the same thing with angle if I lock in an angle, but here I'm going to hitting spacebar to switch between polar and rectangular. And let's type a distance here, 3. We'll lock the axis here by hitting enter. I'm going to snap to some geometry and then snap back here. It notices that's the start point, so it even does a little rounding radius. If I want to modify that, it's smart enough. Again, this is all logic I wrote to try to make this, all these tools just work together very fluidly and productively, and to me, very fun. I love working in 3D when I have a tool like this that I can just, where you can move about in 3D and with such fluidity. I know I use that word a lot, but that describes AccuDraw, is very fluid. Here it's noticed when I tried to modify this that it had a 90-degree series of 90-degree corners and it kept them orthogonal, but it allows me to turn them off if I want to do them at an angle. Either one is a valid option. Let's see, what do I want to do here? I'll project this thing in 3D space. It's a little rough graphics. Again, 90s software. It would probably be a lot smoother on as it works today, but that was the state of the art at the time. Here I've snapped to the middle of a line. I'm in polar coordinates. I'm going to, let's switch back to rectangular by hitting spacebar. I'm going to type in 2.5 and then move this direction. Type 1, that's the center of my circle. Type 2, that's the radius of my circle. And there it is. Of course, I can do Bezier curves if I want. Let's give it a different color. And it's powerful to be able to use AccuDraw just to, even though you're doing what you might think of as freeform curves, this describes the tangency of the start point, so you want that to have some precision too. Normally, in the past, you'd have to draw little construction lines and modify them, trim them, intersect them, etc., to determine, to build the geometry just to place your elements. But with AccuDraw, you just kind of can do that interactively as you move about. So getting to the end of this demo, I know I haven't drawn anything particularly useful, but I think you can get the idea of how this is it's just very powerful and fluid tools for drawing and the X and Y being red and green, that's my own little standard that I started, and every other 3D software uses that same standard these days. So thanks for watching.